of smutty West Country novelty song, the kind of thing rugby players sing when they're pissed, like "'Twas on the Good Ship Venus" or "Eskimo Nell." John would even sing it in an ooh-ah accent. And after that, he'd want us to perform something from the Great American Songbook. "It Was a Very Good Year," or "Every Time We Say Goodbye," which enabled him to do his impersonation of Della Reese, the American jazz singer. I don't know where he got the idea that people wanted to hear him playing the Thresher Machine or doing an impersonation of Della Reese, but bless him, he remained absolutely convinced that they did, in the face of some pretty compelling evidence to the contrary. You'd look out at the front row, and people who'd come to hear blues legend Long John Bullery, and just see a line of mods, all chewing gum and staring at us in complete horror. What the fuck is this guy doing? It was hilarious, even if I was asking myself the same question. And then catastrophe struck. Long John Baldry had a huge hit single. Obviously, this would usually have been the cause of great rejoicing, but Let the Heartaches Begin was an appalling record, a syrupy, middle-of-the-road housewife's choice ballad. It was a million miles from the kind of music John should have been making, and it was number one for weeks, never off the radio. I'd say I didn't know what he was thinking, but I knew exactly what he was thinking, and I couldn't really blame him. He'd been slogging around for years, and this was the first time he'd made any money. The blues sellers stopped booking us, and we started playing the supper clubs, which paid better. Often we'd play 2 a night. They weren't interested in John's pivotal role in the British blues boom or his mastery of the 12-string guitar. They just wanted to see someone who'd been on television. Occasionally, I got the feeling they weren't that interested in music full stop. In some clubs, if you played over your allotted time, they simply closed the curtains on you, mid-song. On the plus side, at least the supper club audiences enjoyed the Thresher Machine more than the mods did. There's one other major problem with Let the Heartaches Begin. Bluesology couldn't play it live. I don't mean we refused to play it. I mean we literally couldn't play it. The single had an orchestra and a female chorus on it. It sounded like Mantovani. We were an 8-piece rhythm and blues band with a horn section. There was no way we could reproduce the sound. So John came up with the idea of putting the backing track on tape. When the big moment came, he'd drag a huge Revox tape machine on stage, press play, and sing along to that. The rest of us would just have to stand there, doing nothing, in our caftans and bells, while people ate chicken and chips, and it was excruciating. In fact, the only entertaining thing about the live performance of Let the Heartaches Begin was that whenever John sang it, women started screaming. Apparently, overwhelmed by desire, they temporarily abandoned their chicken and chips and run to the front of the stage. Then they'd start grabbing at the cord of John's microphone, trying to pull him towards them. I'm sure this kind of thing happened to Tom Jones every night, and he took it in his stride, but Long John Baldry wasn't Tom Jones. Rather than bask in the adulation, he'd get absolutely furious. He'd stop singing and bellow at them like a schoolmaster. "If you break my microphone, you'll pay me £50. One night, this dire warning went unheeded. As they kept pulling at the cord, I saw John raise his arm. Then a terrible thud shook the speakers. I realized with a sinking feeling that it was the sound of a lust-racked fan being smacked over the head with a microphone. In retrospect, it was a miracle he didn't get arrested or sued for assault. So that was the main source of amusement for the rest of us during Let the Heartaches Begin, wondering if tonight would be the night John clobbered one of the screaming admirers again. It was the song that was playing when I had my sudden moment of clarity in South Shields. Ever since I was a kid, I dreamed of being a musician. Those dreams had taken many forms. Sometimes I was Little Richard, sometimes Jerry Lee Lewis, sometimes Ray Charles, but whatever form they had taken, none of them had involved standing on stage in a supper club outside of Newcastle, not playing a Vox Continental organ, while Long John Baldry alternately crooned to the accompaniment of a tape recorder and angrily threatened to fine members of the audience £50, and yet here I was. Much as I loved John, I had to do something else. The thing was, I wasn't exactly swimming in other options. I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do, or even what I could do. I knew I could sing and play piano, but I clearly wasn't pop star material. For one thing, I didn't look like a pop star, as evidenced by my inability to carry off a caftan. For another, I was called Reg Dwight, and that's not a pop star's name. Tonight, on Top of the Pops, the new single by Reg Dwight. It obviously wasn't going to happen. The other members of Bluesology, they had the kind of names you could imagine being announced.